Hello and welcome to another Deck Tech video. This time it's brought to you by Kevin instead of Ray. Thank you so much for your support and I want to give you a little bit of a taste of what I've been working on recently. You might have seen this deck on the stream in its past iterations, but Ray and I have worked really hard together to make this deck be where it is right now. And every time, we think of another card that might work, we find out that all the cards that we have in place seem to be better or have more utility than the card that we're working on putting in, or it just doesn't work. So this deck seems to be at its optimal place where it can be without changing too much of how it feels or changing the job it does. This is a mill deck, as you can probably tell. But it wins. It can win. The only thing that I need to iron out of the 20 gameplays that I've done with this deck is, just better choices during the game. There's definitely a skill cap on knowing what your opponent has and when to recur some cards. But other than that, this deck does its job. So I wanted to bring a lot of people out of the dark hole that is I hate Mill and bring them into the I can respect a Mill player. Because there's a lot of people that sit across from Mill and they have a bad taste in their mouth. Um, and FFG in their most recent article has definitely acknowledged that this happens, but they can't change much of it. They described Mill as playing chess while your opponent plays checkers. In a standard game of Star Wars Destiny, they want you to be playing the same game. They want you to put upgrades down, roll dice, do damage, win the game. The way that Mill wins is play cards, roll dice, attack your hands, resources, and deck, win the game. All without dying. So let's talk about how this deck does that. It has a lot of health on the table. It's 27 health. You have some soft mitigation with Jar Jar Binks. You have dice tutoring with Yoda. And then you have some sick, nasty mill from our queen over here. Oh, the reason why. Oh, I haven't even said that yet. The name of this deck is called Toadstool because Princess Toadstool, because I got a frog and a toad here. So, uh, I think it's funny. So, the three of these together do the job really well. Yoda can mill every once in a while. Yoda can get you $1, and then you can mill too with her. It definitely they have a lot of synergy as a team. And also, your opponent is sitting down 27 health, which makes every game almost fair. If you think about a card in a person for mill, a card in a person's deck is technically a point of health. So every deck that you go against has 30 health. No matter what's sitting on the table, what characters are sitting across from you as a mill player, every deck is 30 health. So how do you get 30 health away? Well, you have Maz's Goggles, which is grand because she has a lot of focus sides, which means that her focus sides can focus Yoda and Padme instead of making Yoda's dice and Padme's dice do the focusing. You like their specials are way more valuable to you than their focuses. So why don't you let another card do it? Also, she has resources, which really helps us because having a lot of money in this deck is good because it just means that Padme is always on, and it means that we can reach cards like Hyperspace Jump. And then also her special ain't bad. And then you have another upgrade, just 4 upgrades total. You have Force Meditation, which, is Padme, but you don't have to pay $1. You have a better chance of hitting this, or you have the same chance of hitting the special. And you got Shield's Money and another focus, which is really nice. Let your other dice do the focusing and let your character dice do the work. Our character dice have to do a lot of heavy lifting in this deck. The 4 dice that we get here are hard-working dice. So another way for us to save money or get money is double dealings. After one of your dice rolls a special, you may exhaust the support and gain a resource. Super great. It's just like Scrap Heap, but for Yellow Hero. And even if you activate Jar Jar and you re-roll your dice and you hit a special, when you haven't already, you can exhaust double dealing and get $1. Even if you discard to re-roll, whenever your dice rolls a special, you get $1, which is really nice. Especially since you have 4 sides special on Yoda, you have 2 sides special on Padme, you have 2 more sides special on Force Meditation, and you got 1 on Maz's Goggles. So there's a lot of specials hanging around in this deck that are bound to appear every once in a while. And guess what? Because you rolled it, you get $1. So with all those upgrades in mind, we have to talk about our events that push our agenda of winning. Okay? We want to get rid of cards in hand, and we want to get rid of cards in deck. If you don't want to focus on just the deck or just the hand. You want to have this nice mix of hitting the hand and hitting the deck. So I want to talk about right now Friends in Low Places. That's just an easy card. It's really good late game, but it also can be, it's better mid game, you know, when your opponent has already played a couple of upgrades and they're really relying on their heavy event count. And it gets rid of their mitigation so that your character dice do the work that they have to do all the time. So, Friends in Low Places, standard, awesome card. Now, these two push the agenda in a very interesting way. Determination, play only if you have 1 or more dice showing focus. Resolve one of your dice as if it was showing a different symbol, and it keeps its original value. It's a 0 cost C3PO for the deck, but only for focuses. So here's what happens. You get a double focus side on Yoda. That's immediately a double discard side. You roll a double focus on your 1 die Padme. That's a double discard. Or 2 shields. Or, you know, it could be 2 resources. It could be, those are the 3 that you really need. So this card helps us out a bunch and definitely make sure that the deck does what it needs to do, which is live long and mill cards. Then you have Vandalize. So not a lot of decks run Vandalize in 2s, but this deck kind of needs it. Because the typical anti-strategy to mill is to play upgrades, roll dice, and smack them for as much damage as you can. The more dice you have on your side of the table when you're going up against mill, the better chance you have that they can't either mitigate it, or it's too much that even if they mitigate, there's still more than they can handle on the table. So Vandalize gets rid of a lot of the key cards that cause us pain and anguish. Of course, red has access to a card like Fall Back, which, you know, gets rid of all but 1 upgrade on the board on each side. So, I mean, that's a strong card, but I don't have any red ones. I don't have any red ones. So, Vandalize is what I have to do. There have been a lot of times, if you have to think about when an opponent plays an upgrade, they basically discarded themselves. Not basically, they did. They discarded themselves. So now their health pool goes from 30 to 29. But that discard also helps them. So if I turn their discard and resource usage into garbage and put it in the discard pile, I win. So key cards to hit, like Maul's Lightsaber, does a lot of damage, and you want that off the table, and a lot of decks only run 1 of them. Heirloom Lightsaber, if you can't hit it from their hand or their deck, you want it off the table. Cards that reoccur are like Chance Cube and Ancient Lightsaber and Sith Holocron. You want to get rid of those cards when you can. Now, you don't want to just hit them right away. Let's say your opponent plays a 4-speed. Okay, cool. 4-speed's a problem because if you go faster than a mill deck, which you're going to do anyways, but if you go super fast and get your dice out and back in before I can mitigate them, I'm in a problem. So let them play their 4-speed. if they hit a blank, which is possible, or if they hit like the focus and they don't really want that, they want the speed, and then they discard to reroll, which a lot of people won't do, but you might get against an experienced player or someone that's in a bind and really needs those two actions, then they have just spent two health, two quote health, to get that dice. Then they hit the special, then you vandalize. You have successfully gotten two cards out of their hand, and you have suffered no pain from it. Okay? So you also, before you vandalize, you could even Jar Jar and hope that maybe they roll something bad after they've already discarded to reroll. Like these two cards make your opponent put a lot of value into their dice, and then you can just take it away. Down here we have easy pickings, which explains itself. Garbage chute. You throw your Jar Jar in the garbage chute, but don't be afraid to put Padme there. I know she's royalty, but she can be in the garbage chute sometimes. Force misdirection is raise and I answer to meta decks, which is we were talking about it. Every side it has to be a blue dice, right? So choose a symbol on one of your blue dice, and then remove all of your opponent's dice showing that symbol. Every side that isn't damage is represented on Yoda, a combination of Yoda and on Force Meditation. So if your Kylo Ren rolls disrupts, your opponent's Kylo Ren rolls disrupts instead of damage, you can force misdirect those disrupts away. If you're playing against like Yoda Hondo and you have rolled out your specials and then they roll out their specials, force misdirect their specials away, and it turns off an entire turn. You can also, well, we'll talk about that later, but it's there for the meta calls, and it makes the other sides of Yoda's dice just as valuable as his specials. That's what determination is doing as well. It's turned his other side of his dice to be just as important as his specials. Down here you have No Duh Entangle and Mind Trick, which is it's spot blue. It's the only card that if Yoda gets smashed first, we can't do anything with it, but it's very helpful. It's just make sure that your opponent has an odd number of dice out, or and then make sure that they think real hard, and then you just pick, and then you get a lot of dice off the table for the turn. Hyperspace Jump wins you games and gets you out of trouble. The most prime way to use Hyperspace Jump is usually Jar Jar will be dead by the time you really want to have it, or Padme will be dead by the time you have it, or one of you guys will be dead. And you want to try to get work in, you want to try to get like a discard or a card out of their deck, and then space jump away. It's good. You want to push your agenda and then jump away, especially when towards later in the game you start getting in control of the board and you start being able to claim because you run out of stuff to do or money. Getting to go first in this deck is really, really awesome. Oh my goodness, hyperspace jump. There you go. Then we have longevity. We were talking about health earlier. This makes my deck 30 health. So I am now tied with any deck that I play against. If I caution a Jar Jar or a Padme die, talking about those character dies doing work. And then Force Illusion. Now, the bread and butter of this deck, along with Vandalize and Determination, Friends in Low Places, and all this mitigation, is we could do it multiple times. We could do it 3 times if we need to. We could have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We could have 6 copies of any one card in this little pile here. Okay? We can even discard this Force Meditation that we don't need to re-roll, hit a discard side, which every dice has, and then play it back out for 1, and then get it out that way. It gives you a lot of options. Rebel and cheat. Cheat, just make sure that you always are switching a card. That's something that I've accidentally done where I've played cheat and then not switched a card. It's just like play cheat, get a card from the discard, and go. If you get caught on that, it might get you might be put in a bad situation. Like, I don't want to actually switch any of these cards out of my hand. So that's the deck in its entirety, and I'd like to um, talk a little bit about opening hands. So if you just pardon me for a moment while we jump cut. So let's first talk about roll-offs. This deck is never ever ever going to win a roll-off, and if it does, it's really weird, and it just doesn't happen often. Because there's not high value, and you have a better chance of rolling a blank or a special than you do any other side. So usually your roll-offs are going to be 3, 4 is typical for high. That's technically our highest. Our highest value is 7, but that's never ever going to happen. There's 4 again, and we'll do one more roll-off just so you can kind of see. So yeah, 3. You're never really going to be able to pick unless your opponent rolls like all blanks on their roll-off. So let's talk about this battlefield over here. It's Utagunga. We don't do damage, so this technically has no use for the opponent. So the opponent is going to pick something that helps them push their agenda, which is their field spell, or their battlefield, excuse me. So typical stuff is like Ewok Village, which really hurts us. The Emperor's Throne Room, which is okay, but we're not claiming fast enough. And then like Outer Rim Outpost. Those are 3 big ones, 3 very common ones. So we'll be playing on those battlefields more often than not because they just go, nope, that doesn't help me. I don't need it. And then you get 2 shields. So I always cover Yoda first. If they are an indirect deck, I cover Padme. Jar Jar, pretty much, his dice is super useful, and I love protecting him, but I will not protect him with my opening dice. So this deck usually are opening shields. So this deck always kind of starts off at 29 health. But these 2 definitely deserve some love. Okay? Especially, but you think like, but wait, he has disrupt and discard and shield. He has more useful sides. We want the 2 focus for determination because that's sneaky, sneaky. So let's talk about some opening hands. We shuffle it up. Get 5 cards. This isn't bad. I'll hold on to my determination because opening hand, they'll definitely play an upgrade first. They'll spend all their money on upgrade, either a 1 cost or a 2 drop, and then I can just get rid of the rest of their hand. So I don't need Garbage Chute, and Rebel is better later. Getting Rebel mid-game is way better. You definitely want to have either Maz's Goggles or Force Meditation opening hand. You need to have your upgrades, and since we only have 4 of them, it doesn't happen a lot. But this deck can win off of having 0 upgrades. It's happened many times. Okay, cool. This is actually like the perfect opening hand. If you roll a double discard, you get rid of their hand. You get so they're gonna play their upgrade opening turn. They'll do a 2 drop if they have it, which they usually have, or they'll drop their Force Speed, or they'll drop their Chance Cube, or they'll drop their Sith Holocron. They'll put those down, and then you just go boop, goodbye after either rolling out. So the way that I would spend my money this round is I'd hold on to Garbage Chute because damage first round is not going to be a lot. It's going to be like 4 damage, and this deck can ride some damage out. I have 29 right now. Oh, I have 29 right now. So the way that I would do this is I would put Maz's Goggles down, and I need to make Padme scary quickly. Right? Right now, she's rocking pretty much Yoda dice. She's basically a Yoda right now. She can discard hands from deck, she can gain resources, and she can discard cards from hand. And she has a special. So that's my dollar. Right? They'll play some stuff, and then I will vandalize it away. Alright? It will be gone. Whatever it is, after I roll out, if I have to roll out Yoda, what happened to my keyboard? There we go. If I have to roll out Yoda first, to get rid of that, that's fine. I don't really want to turn Yoda dice into vandalized dice, but it happens. They'll roll out the card with their upgrade typically first. That's a nice discard. I don't really need that disrupt. We'll re-roll them if we have to. Anything but blanks. These re-roll. Okay, cool. That's nice. And then let's say it's a Vibroknife. So we just get rid of these. Boop. Goodbye, Vibroknife. They wasted action. They wasted money. It's gone. Then I still have $1. I will play my $1 for this. They take their action. Nothing scary. I have a really good chance of hitting a special. I didn't hit my special, but I got this one. They take their action. I will happily get rid of 2 cards in their hand. And then I will special out the next action. And get a resource and turn a die. So I'm primed. That's a pretty good opening hand. That was 2 from hand. An upgrade is 4th. Maybe they discard a reroll. That's their whole hand gone. I didn't take anything from their deck, but their whole hand is gone, and there's nothing on their board that should be scary. So I know that it's just a dummy playthrough, but you know, this order of events is really cool. Jar Jar turns stuff off. It makes them discard to reroll, which is, you know, just health. It's, or quote, health. I love this deck. This deck, I get to play cards that I love. Yeah, Opa win this. I have 3 resources. I can entangle stuff. I can go cheat and get this back by putting that, or by putting this away. And that's still live with a Rebel that's coming up. You know, it's just, it's crazy sauce. And let's see, will I hit the specials on Yoda? Oh. I do. And get $1. And I paid the 2 for these, which means I have the double discard. Boop. Discard or 2 shields. You know, it's just lots of options. I know I went through that really quick, but I don't want to bore you with much more. I will be doing gameplays with this. This is my store champ deck. That's why I'm a little weird about showing people this other than on Patreon, but this is my store championship deck. I will be taking this and I will be wrecking face. That's the plan anyways. I need more gameplay. I will be playing with some Patreons whenever you want. Just hit me up and I'll hit you guys up. I don't really want to play this on the stream, but I probably will end up doing it because I love it so much. And yeah, I'll catch you guys around. Thank you so much for your support and listening to me ramble about my favorite deck.